Welcome to the Rich in Purpose Childhood Trauma Summit. Today I'm here with Welcome to the Rich in Purpose Transform Childhood Summit. Today I have the joy of welcoming Kathleen Huebner, author of Whispers Within Us. Kathleen has a beautiful gift for helping people slow down, reconnect with their inner wisdom, and rediscover the quiet truths that trauma often buries. Her work gently guides us back to the parts of ourselves we learned to silence just to survive. Kathleen, welcome for being with us today.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you having me part of your summit.
Well, I'm just so happy you're here to join us and teach us how to hear those whispers within us. So many
Abs-
times we miss them. So tell me a little bit, Kathleen, about I read only about 3% of the people actually start books and finish them. So tell us how you had such a burning desire to finish this book on whispers within us.
well, it was a process. So I've been telling people it took us probably, and when I say us, my editor was a big part of helping me with this, right? But about 13 plus months, I tell people that. It was actually longer than that. I started it April of 2024. And then I sat on it for a couple months after I had an outline ready to go. I worked with a gentleman that helped me. He does a whiteboard process and he literally just asks me questions and he has it transcribed into a pretty much an ebook. And from there, you can make it more than what it is, or you can leave it as an ebook. I wanted it to be more. So from there, I went down the rabbit hole of adding to what we'll call an ebook at that time. And I just couldn't stop. Like it turned what my vision for the book was and what it turned into are completely different. And I absolutely love the way that it turned and went in a different direction. It was just, I wanted to get it out there. I wanted people to know that their intuition is constantly talking to them in different ways. They just need to listen, just be still and listen.
Yeah, I mean, we hear so much of it, and I was talking with someone once, and they said when you hear that inner voice or that inner whisper, it is that God or that infinite intelligence talking to you, and what He's telling you to do or what that voice is telling you to do has already been completed in heaven or in the universe, but you have to take the steps to actually do it, make it come here. So it is God talking to you. And I know that you have three or four different ways, Kathleen, of the way that you hear things. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when you're going through listening to your whispers, they can be physical signs. They can be, you can hear something, they can be downloads. And when I say downloads, like a lot of times people get little things that come through in their like dreams or meditations. And then another way is actually you feel it, right? Like when you're out and about and you sense danger because you get like the goosebumps up the back of your neck or something. People need to listen to those. I think a lot of people question what it is, but so it can be a physical sign, right? So a lot of people when they're going through their intuitive downloads, whatever they look like, hearing, feeling, seeing, whatever that is, they just need to listen. And I think people forget to do that. A good example is say you see the same blue jay every day at your bird feeder. Every day that same blue jay lands there. You don't know if it's the same blue jay, but there's a blue jay landing there. If you look up spiritual meaning of seeing a blue jay every day, you'll come up with like four or five meanings. Guaranteed one of those meanings that you Google and comes up has something to do with your life. It resonates with you. So I always tell people signs are everywhere. And like you could hear a conversation next to you. That's another one I like to tell people about. You could hear a conversation you're not even involved in. You're just sitting having a cup of coffee, scrolling on your phone, and all of a sudden you hear something in a conversation and it resonates with you. Well, that's a whisper because it resonates with you. Anytime something resonates with you in any of the clearances, it's a whisper for you.
Well, and sometimes you'll see someone and it's like, oh, I haven't seen you in a long time, and then all of a sudden the thing that you talk about will actually happen. Those are things that I find sometimes that you that's why people who don't believe in God and infinite intelligence, you wonder, well, how did that happen? Really, if if that's not true. But the one thing I want to ask you, or another one of the questions is, for people who grew up in chaos or fear, what makes it so hard for us to hear those inner whispers? And how do you begin getting us connected to that inner guidance?
A lot of that is when you're in that traumatic experience, right? The chaos, it doesn't let you sit, it doesn't let you be, you can't be still. So your head is always full because you're always in fear that whatever the trauma is going to happen again, right? So if somebody can meditate, even for 2 minutes, it doesn't have to be a long meditation. Go for a walk in the woods or in the park. Not everybody has woods. In the park, in your backyard, along the water. Anytime you're in nature, your higher power, whatever it is, God, universe, Buddha, your higher power likes nature, likes to talk to you through nature, and a lot of people don't know that. So if you do have those trauma areas or fear areas, limiting beliefs, a lot of limiting beliefs come from fear, instilled in us when we're little. If you can get into nature and just go for a walk, if you're not a meditator, it calms your nervous system down and it allows you to take in whatever is coming at you. If it's a physical sign you see or a possible audible sound you hear, that could be a word or a sentence. It comes in so many different ways. It's just getting still, right? Just meditating, walking through the woods, walking in nature, just allowing your nervous system to slow down so you can actually hear what's going on.
Well, you had mentioned, I read one of your blogs, and you were talking about you and your father had some conversations when you were younger, and you kind of picked up on those. Tell us a little bit about that story.
So it's a lot of it is it's conversations I have even with him now through feathers. Like if I'm struggling with something or uncertain about something, I always ask to see a white feather. And when I ask, when I tell people when you're asking a question to your higher power or to your guides, my dad's one of my guides, um, you ask for a specific sign. It can be almost anything, but I always ask for a white feather. I'm like, if I'm on the right track, just show me a white feather. Or I'm struggling with this. Could you tell me if I need to move forward? Show me a white feather. So if I don't see a white feather, I know he's saying, no, you should probably pull back. Or if I do see a white feather, I'm like, okay, he's guiding me to move forward. I'm going to keep going. So I believe that when you have people that have transitioned over, they are your guides. I'm a strong believer they're with you all the time and they're watching out for you. You can have conversations with them, but even in life, when you're having conversations with, like when I was having conversations with my dad, you just intuitively know their personalities, right? So he was a hot-tempered man. And so we knew like we didn't listen, we were in trouble, right? But he also created a lot of strong values. He was a single dad, so strong values, strong work ethic, integrity, all those things. We wouldn't have those if he wasn't who he was. And he wasn't abusive or anything. He just had a temper. Like he did not know how to rein that in. So sometimes I just knew, like I intuitively knew if I didn't do what he wanted us to have done, we were going to get in trouble. So you just pick up on those signs.
Well, I was reading some of your book, and you have uh, paragraphs in there are some of the things that happened when you were a kid with one of your best friends, and also with your son. So you have really picked up on these whispers to help you even help people. I guess how do you know that especially for helping people, right? How do you know that that's really an inner whisper that you can listen to at this moment?
So I did not know, and I believe everybody has intuitive abilities in them. I did not know until a couple years ago, um, actually probably 10 years ago, that I wasn't intuitive at all. I just was having a conversation with a lady and she's like, "Oh, you're one of those." And I'm like, "One of what?" I got like leaned in because I'm like, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "You pick up on energies. Like from people, you pick up on energies and they guide you. Those energies guide you." And I was like, "Oh, well, okay." And I thought, whatever, lady, right? But then all of a sudden, after that conversation with her, it's all of a sudden my guides were like, "Okay, she gets it." And then they just started pounding me with certain types of like intuitive downloads of all kinds, like things I've seen, in the shower, listening to a podcast, all of a sudden music comes on. What's the song about? Listen to the words. What's it saying to me? That kind of thing. And so, yeah, like the one story with my girlfriend in high school, like she did not come from a good home. There were things going on that she never verbally told me about. Some of it she did, but some of it she didn't. She just hinted towards things. And so it was almost like I needed to protect her, like I needed to keep her close. And as I've figured out my intuitive side of myself, and I have to say, people are drawn to me. My son said it when he was little. We were at the grocery store one day, and this lady's just talking my ear off, telling me about her day and her life and all the things, right? We were probably in line for maybe 5 minutes, and we were leaving, and my son's like, Mom, why do people do that all the time with you? And I said, Do what, sweetheart? Talk, 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 talk. Tell you everything about themselves. I'm like, I don't know. I just have that gift. They know I'm open, so they talk to me. And at that time, I did not know what that meant, right? So the reason why this book came to life is I started having all these like really strong downloads of stuff from when I was a child. And I'm like, okay, that was my intuition and I didn't know it. Like my intuition was going off. So that's what started this book is I wanted to like show people that those little tiny intuitions, maybe insignificant things that were happening to me that I remember so strongly were actually being talked to me through my guides or whoever, right? My higher power was like, giving me little things like to protect my friend Peggy, keep her at my house as much as I could. And my dad knew what was going on too. So it's like, he would always say, stay overnight, have supper with us. So you just pick those things up.
Yeah, well, so many times we disregard those thoughts though. It's like you'll be waiting in the grocery line and they'll the voice will say, "Go pay for that person's groceries." And then you say, "Stand behind me, Satan. I'm not going to do that." So you don't so you don't really so many times we hear things but we don't follow through with them. And that's what I just wonder, what are we missing, right? If we hear them and we do them, it's God telling us that I would like for you to do this and something good would happen. But then
Yeah.
so many times we probably miss what he has for us, or just that person needed that money so badly, much more than you did, that it would have helped that person even tell a story, right, about how someone helped them. So, yeah, I just think that it's so important to listen. Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't, but it is important to hear those voices and understand really they are from God. And if you'll listen to it, there's usually good things that can happen to you or the person that that you're being instructed to help. So
Yep.
I say many high performing adults have learned to override their emotions to stay safe or successful. How do you help people tell the difference between a trauma driven thought and a true inner whisper meant to guide them?
So a trauma-driven thought, they're going to get very, like their body's going to feel like it's in turmoil, right? They're going to get those vibrations of flight, fight. They're going to get those vibrations, right? If it's a true whisper, they're going to feel called to do it. They're going to feel called to follow it. It's more of a calling. They're so different. Like a whisper is going to be calmer. Sometimes it's excitement, but it's not fear and it's not flight. I'm a strong believer that when it's a whisper, you're being guided to do something. And if it's something that's triggering your trauma from being a child, something that happened, you're going to go into flight or fight mode 100%. Like your body's just going to start to react.
Well, so many of the times, like when we have experience in the experience of childhood trauma, those fight or flight moments seem normal. And now someone is saying, go do this that can maybe be something that's good for you or something that's going to give you peace. And then you're thinking, it's going to take me outside of my safety zone. This is not something that's in that safety zone. Do you find that it might take courage to go ahead and hear the whisper and move forward? Or what if you haven't really experienced any moments that you feel is kind of good for you, and you now hear something that says, do this in that whisper. Do you hear it, or do you have have to take the courage to make it happen.
I would say you would have to take the courage to make it happen in the fact that, like you said, you're so used to having those trauma feelings, right? So to move out of those, because that's what you're just used to living every day, are trauma feelings, flight, fight, whatever it is. So it is courage to go out of your comfort zone and follow something that's new. And, as a lot of coaching, we do a lot of mindset work, and it's really working on your mindset, getting you in a place where those negative feelings, those negative thoughts, you can clear them out. And it doesn't happen overnight. It can take years of working on yourself and reminding yourself. I honestly have a coaching client that keeps a rubber band on her wrist, and when she has negative thoughts, she snaps it to snap herself out of it, and then she names three things she's grateful for, because
Mm.
she's like, I don't want to carry negative energy anymore. I want to be at peace with my life in general. Like everywhere I go, I just want to come from love and light and be at peace. So that's what we're working on with her. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It can take years. So it's a
Well,
lot of work.
well, the one thing, it took us 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, whenever we realize we have childhood trauma, because many of us don't realize it. It's not going to transform in 3 days or 4 days or whatever. It's going to take you those years to really to kind of get through it.
Yeah.
We're both in Napoleon Hill, the Napoleon Hill Institute, and you hear a lot about limiting beliefs,
Mm.
and and I mean, I think every single person, right, is you can't do this, or maybe you should hold off on that. But how do these inner voices that really sometimes we even talk to ourselves about them, how does that come through with the inner whispers, and we're able to say that yes, I not only do I deserve that, but I can do it.
Yeah, I'll just use one of mine as an example. So just growing up, divorced parents, single dad, raised us full time, and often went on service calls with him. So he was a refrigeration repairman, and we were told to be quiet and to not be seen. Go to my mom's house one weekend out of the month, whatever it was. And we would be told, she's got to go bartend. We're going to babysit each other. Be quiet. Do not go outside. So I grew up with not being seen and not being heard. So in my real estate career, to advertise myself was so stressful. I hated having my face out there, just all the things, right? Fast forward to doing the book, I'm like, I need to get really uncomfortable right now and get comfortable with putting myself out there, because I want to get my book out there. I want people to understand that they can work past those limiting beliefs, right? And I do have a section in the book about it. Like, you just need to get quiet and listen to who you really are. You need to stand in your truth. And for me, at this point in my life, it's like it's time for me to stand in my truth. It's time for me to put myself out there. It's time to put my book out there so people understand that they all have whispers. There's not a select few. Everybody gets the whispers. We just get them differently. And if you're not paying attention, you miss them. And that's my biggest goal, is if I can just help someone find one way to hear their whispers is the big thing for me. And if it's working past their limiting beliefs to know who they really are, unfortunately, most of our limiting beliefs are put into us when we're children. I mean, we don't start out with them. So, it's like you always hear the people with really poor money mindset is they were told money doesn't grow on trees. Do you think I have money growing in the drawer or sitting in the drawer? Stuff like that. It's like when parents do that, they're putting those limiting beliefs on their kids that money's hard to get. So we have to work past it as an adult. We have to work on ourselves.
Well, I think a lot of things have changed in time as well, right? Because I know, I grew up in, it doesn't seem like I was born in 1960 by looking at my face here, but I was born in 1960. Um, and your parents, we grew up in a time when money wasn't really that plenty. There was way more, seemed like more people that didn't have money than actually had money. But so, it wasn't the fact that they were really putting these limiting beliefs on you, or it was just the fact that they were just trying to teach you how to, you know, don't just spend all your money, right? Save a little bit. So when you get those times that you need it, it's going to be available for you. And the one thing I just look back at those times compared to the way that kids are raised today, it's just so much different than than what we were told when we were
Yeah.
kids.
And I think kids today, parents want them to have everything they did not have when they were younger. And that causes a little bit of a different kind of riff, right? Like they think they should instant gratification, get everything.
And
So,
and if you go through that instant gratification phase, right? I mean, that can be addictive in its own self.
yeah.
I mean, you can just say, "Oh, I think I need it." It's like when they used to give kids all trophies, and even though they got eighth place, you still got a trophy. And is that going to make you grow up to be this person that no matter what happens, I'm going to be more than an overcomer? You're just be
Yeah.
waiting for your eighth place trophy, right, to come, and I'm good.
Yeah.
But it says, when someone feels disconnected from themselves, dumb, shut down, or unsure what's true, what is one simple practice from your book that can help them soften enough to hear their inner voice again?
I would say breath work. I'm a strong breath work person. And another small example, it's not in the book, but my son called me one day and he was having a really rough day and was out running with one of his buddies. They were actually traveling. They had like 8 hours left to get home. And he's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, Mom. He's driving me nuts. I'm gonna leave him on the side of the road. I'm like, okay, I need you to calm down and I need you to breathe with me. And so I did the 4-7-9 with him. I told him to breathe in for 4. Actually, I do 5, but they say 4. So I had him breathe in, hold it for 7, exhale up for 9. I said, do it 3 times on your own. I'm just gonna sit here on the phone with you. And then he did it a couple more times. He's like, wow. And I said, yeah, it calms your nervous system down. So if people can just stop for a minute and literally breathe for maybe 2 minutes, it doesn't take long to do it. It literally calms your nervous system down. So then you can like slow down. Because when you are in like that trauma place, right, your nervous system is up and you do have a hard time like focusing forward. I've been there, I totally understand it. I used to get panic attacks and it's hard to like catch your breath and slow down, but breath work saved me from those. So I'm a strong believer that if somebody can just do the breath work for a couple minutes, they're going to feel so much better and then they can think and their mind slows down, their nervous system slows down.
Well, I mean, that's something I think that I'm just learning because my mind, and there's a lot of people with that's experienced trauma, it just never stops, right? I mean, my mind is always going like when people say meditate for 10 minutes. Silent meditation for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, what about 10 seconds? Maybe I can get there for 10 seconds, but not 10 minutes.
And that's when you like when you can't meditate, that's when I say go for a walk in nature.
Yeah.
Because that's meditation in itself. You're not just sitting trying to sit still, right? You're doing something, but it's calming. So,
And that's what I try to do is I love to go walk, and now I'm fortunate enough to live close to the water, and I can walk along the water and just kind of just think, right, and think about how I can do something or get past this one moment that's not good for me.
and doesn't just talking about it make you feel calmer? Like I'm gonna go for a walk later, and you just instantly like you just calm down a little bit. It's the weirdest thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look outside, it wasn't invented by us, right? The buildings were, but the outside was built created by infinite intelligence or God. So, and we have that attraction, I think, in us that will make us feel calm if we just will let ourselves get out there and do that. In writing the book, Kathleen, you go through quite a few different things. Just give me 2 chapters that you think that these are like of all of them, maybe not the best, but the 2 that you think have had impact on people that have childhood trauma, and if they can do those, they can hear these whispers.
Okay, so I'm just gonna pull it out because I don't remember which chapters they are, but the like number 7, taking aligned action. I feel that when you've had chaos and trauma in your life, no matter what age you're at, when if you can like find a focus point and take action to move towards that, if it's a goal, an intention, whatever you want to call it, I just feel like it helps you move forward in a systematic way. I guess that's the best way for me to say it. Taking aligned action leads you into the direction of getting out of the chaos and out of the trauma, right? it's still there, but you're working past it. So, because you're taking action to move forward. So, that is definitely one chapter that I feel people could take a lot from, and that is the chapter 7. And then the other one is the chapter on faith, which is chapter 12. When you have a belief system that's so strong that the trauma and the chaos, it'll still be there, right? It's never going to be 100% gone. And you know this with everything that you've worked past on your own. But when you have that faith and you align that with purpose, it just makes life so much easier to move forward and put that trauma and that chaos kind of at a lower level so your vibrations can come up. I'm a strong believer when when there's faith there, there's just something holding you strong. It's almost like, I mean, if you're godly, it's almost like God's bringing his hands down and he's like, I have you, just hold faith. And that helps you move forward with the action. So those two chapters, they would work well together. And I think they're really good for trauma and chaos, both.
Well, I mean, you have to have faith to move forward really kind of in anything, right? If you don't, if I thought this bar stool or this chair was going to give out on me in 5 minutes, I wouldn't be sitting here in it. I have faith in this chair that it's not going to break. But then I have to have faith in myself, and and those things, you're right. You have to, I think, get coaches like yourself, become you know, really good with reading self-help books and things that are positive, rather than, reading things that, like novels that where 18 people get stabbed. That's not a good thing to kind of keep you going and keep you going forward, and not have the faith. And then also really the belief, or the doing the things that give you confidence, right? If you can envision doing something, but you never take the action to see if that first step will come to play, then it kind of creates anxiety in you, right? You want to do it, but you don't take that first step because maybe you don't have the faith. Maybe you've been told over and over that you can't do anything. But I can, but those are really things that, Kathleen, have helped me move forward as well, especially the faith and taking action on something that I want to do. It kind of makes me also realize that, Jamie, you're worthy. You're worthy of this goal. And look, infinite intelligence, or God gave you this. You took the first step, and look what happened. Now take the second step, and something else will happen. Because so many times you have to take that first step and you have that faith before infinite intelligence and God will open the next door.
Well, and along with that, like you don't have to do it all by yourself either, right? You can have a tribe of people that help you take action because sometimes the action has little mini actions and you don't have the know-how to do the mini actions. Like I'm not very techy. So I have somebody that helps me do a lot of my like pictures and stuff on Canva because I just don't have I'm sure if I sat down and did it, I would figure it out. But I just it's not my forte, shall we say. So sometimes when you're taking action, you have people around you that help take the other little mini actions to make the big picture come alive. And I think a lot of people forget that. They think they have to do all the action on their own, and they don't. Asking for help is action in itself.
Yeah, and you have to make sure. That's why, again, reach out to coaches, reach out to a mastermind that can help you, because so many times if you reach out to your friends, you're not going to move forward, right?
Mhm.
One of my favorite sayings, and people are going to hear this probably about 15 times in on the summit, but the people that I've talked to, but show me your five best friends and I'll show you where you're going to be in 5 years. And for me, last year, I decided to get rid of all of my friends and start all over. And I started over with a mastermind and being part of the Napoleon Hill Institute. Now, in 3 years, I started this program. Now, in 8 months, I've been able to really fulfill it and get it going. So you have to make sure that you're around the right people whenever you get it. That's why I just over and over and over tell people that, sometimes we don't feel that we're worthy to move forward. So, when a coach says, oh, it's $2,500 for 12 weeks, you think, oh my God, I'm not worth that. But and that's your subconscious. Really, do you think, oh my gosh, I don't have that money? But you can't, if you will just get around people that will help you and take that first step that says, okay, I'm going to get somebody that's going to show me the principles and the right way to do things. And all of a sudden now you have, you're moving forward. And one of the things that I've talked to so many uh, coaches and therapists and stuff in here, and it's the most common reason they actually move forward is because they found someone that believed in them
Mm.
and that had the patience to, and they felt that they were not going to give up on them. And that's what a coach with the, you can have coaches that don't have like a trauma lens, and they can put you under trauma. Right? Just do this and do this and do this, and you're like, ah. But if, but if you have a, a coach or therapist that has the trauma lens, they're much more softer and they can kind of guide you to the place really where you're trying to go. So that's what I would recommend, especially for people who have experienced some emotional childhood experiences, to reach out to people who have also had those experiences, because the saying, you can't take somebody where you haven't been. And if you have a coach that hasn't ever experienced anything like you've experienced, then it's going to really be harder to get them to
Yeah,
get.
and that's a really good point, Jamie, as far as if you're working with someone, and I always say this to my clients when I have my discovery call with them. I'm like, this discovery call is to see if we're a good fit. And if you or I feel like we're not a good fit, I'm going to give you a couple names of people to reach out to because everybody has their specialty knowledge, and maybe what I work with people is not their what they need. It's not my forte is not what they need. So when you said that, strongly agree with you. You've got to have the right people that you're working with.
Well, I know that you've written this book and it's a great book, but you're also working on something for women, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have a program that I started about 9 months ago called Mrs. to Miss. And what happened is after my divorce, I found myself in a very difficult place, very depressed for 2 weeks the day we left the courthouse, and not getting out of bed, barely walking my dog. And one morning, I'm literally standing in front of the mirror brushing my teeth, and I can still see it so vividly. And I caught myself in the mirror, and I'm like, "What is wrong with you? Get your shit together." And like, he is not allowed to have power over you anymore. You are your own person. Get showered, get dressed, let's go. And from that moment on, I just kept moving. But as my divorce was finalized, I had all these people, like women wise, reaching out to me. Yeah, we're thinking of getting a divorce. We're in this spot. And we would talk, and I'm like, okay, there's something here. And I was getting ready to start my coaching business. I hadn't started it yet. More women had come to me. And finally, I'm like, women need help. Divorced women need help. So my avatar is 35 and above. So it's females. They don't have to be in a divorce situation, but they're drifting, right? They're just out doing life with no purpose, no passion, no guidance. And I bring them in and I try to help them find that purpose and passion. It's in them, right? They just have to find it. So yeah, I've been enjoying it. I've had several women go through the program already, and they are doing phenomenal. Kind of found their confidence again and their worth, standing in their truth. So it's been a passion project for me, and I love every minute of it. And it all kind of stemmed out of what I went through, seeing that other women needed it.
Well, and I think all coaches are here because they went through what the people that they're trying to help
Right?
already went through. Right. So, I mean, every coach that's on here has went through childhood trauma, right? And every therapist has went through childhood trauma. And many of us, like your book, right? I was reading it and I'm like, this would be a great book for people who have experienced trauma, because we don't listen to ourselves, right? We're just, all we know is, if I do this today, I'm going to survive and get through this day. Where if we can start, have someone like yourself and or another coach, but say, we're here to help you. We're going to love you. We're going to encourage you. We're going to help you move to the place where you can be then everybody can kind of move forward in that way. And I think that, your childhood helped you grow to someone that you can be a protector. And, like for me, if I can't have a coach that says, I think I'm going to encourage you, I'm not going to give up on you, I'm going to protect you from all these things that you have been going through, I feel safe.
Yeah.
Now I can take on you as a coach or a coach with that and saying, as long as I feel safe to say whatever I want to say, then I'm going to be able to move forward. And so creating those safe experiences, I think, not only if people read your book, but then meet you and your kindness and your smile, they're going to think, I think maybe this lady can help me and give you an opportunity, because so many times we just don't take that first step and we
Yeah.
find ourselves just living and when you're 7 years old, it takes you 20 years to get through a year, but when you're 50 years old, it only takes you 2 days, right? Time just goes by so fast.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm 60 now and I've got things to do. And so you just need to keep going on that. But Kathleen, we're going to wrap it up. But can you give us one thing that you think that if you read this one little part in the book, you're going to be better off than you were if you didn't read it?
Well, it's mentioned more than once in the book, but it just talks about slowing down. And you kind of mentioned it at the beginning. I loved the way you mentioned it at the beginning, but if you can slow down to hear the whispers, and I'm not talking just sitting still, just slow down. Don't be chaotic all the time. So, um, there is a companion journal coming out that we started in October, and it's literally you write a few things in the morning and a few things at night. It takes you maybe 6 minutes every day. And I think that will help people slow down. So you don't even need the journal. You can do it all on your own. Just take a few minutes every morning and write down 3 things you're grateful for, what you want to happen good during the day. And then at nighttime before you go to bed, 3 things wonderful that happened during the day and what you would like to have happen differently the next day. That is going to help your brain slow down in itself and get into your subconscious mind.
Yeah. I just was learning about the other day. If your day didn't go the way you want it, then create the day like if it would have been a good day, create that day in your mind, and you'll start having those kind of days as well. So that's very, very, very good advice. And for your coaching, if someone wants to reach out to you, we'll put it on the screen. But how can they get a hold of you?
On my website, which is whisperswithinus.com.
Well, when we get a hold of you, we're going to try not to whisper so you can hear us.
I appreciate that.
My pleasure, Kathleen. Well, thank you so, so much for sharing this with our audience. And I'm going to recommend that they get your book so they can slow down, hear those whispers, and some of the things that they think are just maybe not the right word they're hearing, but they'll start hearing that that's from infinite intelligence or God, and they'll take that action. So thank you so, so much for writing the book and being here with us today.
Thank you, Jamie.
My pleasure.